I never thought one small act of kindness could shift the course of my life so drastically. But looking back, I realized that the day I stopped to help a stranger was the day everything began to change. My name is Emily Carter. I was 35 years old, a woman who had convinced herself that life had already shown me everything it had to offer. I worked as a nurse in a small community hospital in Denver, Colorado. My life was stable, predictable, and to be honest, a little lonely. My days were filled with caring for patients, listening to their stories, and then coming home to an empty apartment. I had grown used to the silence, telling myself that this was just the way my life was supposed to be. It was a chilly autumn evening when it happened. I had just finished a long shift, and as I drove home, the streets glowed under the dim light of street lamps. The trees had begun to shed their leaves, scattering shades of orange and brown across the sidewalks. I was tired, drained, and ready to sink into bed. But as I turned a corner near a small gas station, I noticed a man struggling with his car on the side of the road. His hood was up, and he stood with his hands on his hips, clearly frustrated. Normally, I might have driven past. After all, I wasn't exactly a mechanic. But something about him made me slow down. Maybe it was the way he looked so defeated, or maybe it was just the part of me that was wired to care for others. I pulled over and rolled down my window. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked, leaning out. The man looked up, his face illuminated by the streetlight. He looked to be in his late 30s, with short brown hair and a strong jawline. His clothes were casual, jeans and a simple jacket, but there was something about him that caught my attention. "Car won't start," he said with a sigh. "Battery's dead, I think. I've been stuck here for an hour trying to call someone, but no luck." I glanced at my phone mounted on the dashboard. "Do you need a ride somewhere? Or I can call a tow truck for you." He hesitated, as though unsure whether to accept my offer. Then he gave a small smile. "If it's not too much trouble, a ride would be great. I don't live too far." Something inside me said yes before my cautious brain could say no. "Hop in," I told him. He introduced himself as Ryan Mitchell as he climbed into my car. He smelled faintly of cedarwood cologne, and despite his situation, he had a calm presence about him. As we drove, he thanked me for stopping. "Most people just keep going," he said. "But you didn't." "I appreciate that." I shrugged, trying to play it off. "I'm a nurse. It's kind of in my nature to help people." He glanced at me, a smile tugging at his lips. "Well, then I'm lucky you came by." We talked a little as I drove him home. He lived in a modest apartment complex about 10 minutes away. He told me he had recently moved back to Denver after years away, trying to get back on his feet. There was a heaviness in his tone, like he carried a story he wasn't ready to share. When we arrived, he thanked me again and offered to pay me back somehow. I waved him off, saying it wasn't necessary. But before he got out, he paused. "Can I maybe take you out for coffee sometime? Just to say thank you properly?" I hesitated. I hadn't been on a real date in years, not since my divorce 5 years ago. But something about Ryan felt safe. Kind. Genuine. Against all the walls I had built around my heart, I found myself nodding. "Sure. Coffee sounds nice." That coffee date turned into the start of something I never expected. Over the next few weeks, Ryan and I met several times. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told me he had once been in finance, working long hours in a high-pressure job, but he burned out and walked away. He had been trying to rebuild, taking odd jobs, figuring out what he really wanted in life. I told him about my work as a nurse, how I loved helping people, but sometimes felt invisible outside of the hospital. He listened, really listened, in a way that made me feel seen. For the first time in years, I felt like someone cared about the person behind the scrubs. But Ryan wasn't just easy conversation. He was thoughtful. When I came home exhausted one night, he showed up at my door with takeout and insisted I sit while he set the table. When I mentioned offhand that I loved old jazz records, he surprised me a week later with a vintage record he had found at a thrift shop. Small gestures, but they meant the world. Yet, as close as we became, I could sense Ryan was holding back. There were moments when his eyes clouded over, when he drifted into silence. Whenever I asked, he brushed it off with a smile. "It's nothing. Just thinking." Months passed, and slowly my feelings deepened. I hadn't expected this. I had thought I was just helping a stranger with his car. But now, Ryan was becoming an important part of my life. He made me laugh, made me feel alive again. I had long ago convinced myself that love wasn't meant for me, but here he was, proving me wrong. One winter evening, as snow fell outside, Ryan finally opened up. We were sitting in my living room, a record playing softly in the background. He looked at me with a seriousness I hadn't seen before. "Emily," he began, his voice low, "there's something I need to tell you. Something I probably should have said sooner." My heart tightened. "Okay," I said carefully. He took a deep breath. "When I left my job, it wasn't just burnout. I made mistakes. Bad ones. I trusted the wrong people, got caught up in things I shouldn't have. I lost everything. Money, friends, even my reputation. That's why I moved back here. To start over. To find myself again." I stared at him, taking it all in. He looked so vulnerable, so afraid of how I'd react. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Then I reached for his hand. "Ryan, we've all made mistakes. What matters is who you are now. And I know who you are. You're kind. You're trying. That's what I care about." Relief washed over his face, and in that moment, I knew my life had changed forever. From then on, our bond grew stronger. Ryan found steady work managing a small bookstore downtown, something he genuinely loved. I supported him as he rebuilt his life, and in turn, he supported me in ways I never thought I needed. He pushed me to dream bigger, to stop hiding behind routine. Together, we took weekend trips, tried new things, laughed until our stomachs hurt. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just existing, I was living. And it all began because I stopped to help a stranger on the side of the road. Now, years later, as I sit here reflecting, Ryan and I are married. We built a life together, one filled with love, forgiveness, and hope. Sometimes I think back to that night, the night I thought I was just helping him, and I smile. Because the truth is, I wasn't just helping him. He was helping me too. Helping me find love again. Helping me find myself. I thought it was just an act of kindness, but it turned out to be the moment that changed my life forever.